to borrow on interest. And you can come together to raise capital, and you don't have to be Muslims alone, because Islam does not recognize a market which gives any preferential treatment to a Muslim. When it comes to the market, Islam recognizes all of us equal to the market, in the market. Hindu, Christian, Jew, whoever you are, you're all equal in the market. So you can bring together non-Muslims as well. And then when you raise your capital, that capital can be invested in a business. And when the business makes a profit, you share in the profit. But if the business suffers a loss, of course, you share in the loss. So these are some of the macro responses at the level of the community. What remains now is the micro response. Until such time as we have the power to take control of the state, the only real responses that are possible are micro responses. What is a micro response? It is one in which you build your own market. And in your market, you try to bring back the Quran and the Sunnah. I leave behind me two things. So long as you hold on to them, you will never go astray. The Book of Allah and my Sunnah. And so if we are to resolve the problem, we need to bring back the Book of Allah and the Sunnah. They attempted to do that in Britain. Yeah. I told you about the Morabitun. In Norfolk, they built a Muslim market. A pioneering work. And that Muslim market was part of a Muslim village. So I am not the first to talk about a Muslim village. Don't look at me like that. It's the Sheikh Abdul Qadir Sufi and the Morabitun. If you build your own market, the Republic Bank can't come in your market. You'll drive them out. Plico can't come in your market. You drive them out. So you will ensure that your market is free of snakes. Secondly, in your market, which is part of your Muslim village, and of course the Muslim village must have Hindus also living in it, and Christians also living in it. It will be strategically disastrous for you to make it an exclusive Muslim village. In your Muslim village, in your market, you will teach the people not to borrow money on interest. You will teach the people that this hand is better than this hand, to stay away from debt. You will teach them about what the Prophet did, alayhi salatu wasalam, that a janaza was brought to the Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, for him to perform the Salatul Janaza, the funeral prayer over the dead body. And he asked, did he leave any debt? Meaning, and he didn't leave enough money to pay the debt. So they said no. So he performed the funeral prayer over that body. And then another janaza was brought to the Prophet ﷺ for him to perform the funeral prayer over that dead body. And he asked, did he leave any debt? Meaning, and he didn't leave enough money to pay the debt. They said yes. The Messenger of Allah said to his companion, you pray over him. He refused to pray. I gave this in a television program in New York. My shop that I sell the halal meat was an old man. The next time I went to the halal meat shop to buy meat, the man hold on to me. He's shaking because he heard the program. He said, you mean the Prophet refused to pray over that body? because he borrowed money and he didn't have enough to pay it back when he did. The man was shaking like a leaf. We used to be like that once upon a time. My mother, after my father died, my father was a school principal. And my mother was left with all of these children. I was the oldest boy. I was 14 or 15. And sometimes she didn't have any money. Very rare would she send me by an aunt in Freeport. Go by auntie. Ask her for $100, borrow. So I'd take a taxi, go Freeport, and come back with the $100. But I noticed my mother, after that money come, when she eat, the food ain't digesting. The food ain't digesting because she had a debt. When time come to sleep, sleep ain't coming. She restless because she have a debt. Only when the debt was paid would she be able to digest she food. That was yesterday. Let me introduce you to today. Huh? You go on and you sign for the loan. How much was it? 200,000? And how long the loan will last for? 25 years? You lose any sleep over it? It had any problems for your digestion? Ah, what a day that was yesterday. If you can bring that back, you're on your way to a micro response. If you can bring that back. The messenger of Allah was approached by a man who said, "O messenger of Allah, if I die on the battlefield of jihad while advancing towards the enemy, not retreating, will I enter into heaven?" He said, "Yes." So the man turned round to go. And as he turned round to go, Jibreel alayhi salam appeared. The angel Gabriel. The angel Gabriel conveyed to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam a message from Allah. The Prophet called back the man, "Come back." He said, "You will enter into heaven on the condition that you died without leaving a debt behind." Gabriel has just come to say so. And so we teach the economic sunnah of staying away from debt to the maximum extent possible. And if we do have to enter into debt, it will be the minimum and short term. And anytime someone has a debt and he cannot repay the debt after a certain time, then the community will come together to take your brother out of debt. Here is a micro response to stay away from debt. Insofar as sunnah money is concerned, it's not possible to bring back sunnah money in their economy, in their market. The closest thing that we had to it was in Afghanistan, when you had an Islamic government in Afghanistan. The representative of the government of Afghanistan was in New York. He was accredited to the United Nations, a very fine scholar of Islam. And he and I became very good friends. And he used to be taking tape recordings of my lectures and sending them back to Kabul for the leaders of the revolution in Afghanistan to be listening to those lectures. And I was arguing that Afghanistan had a chance to bring back sunnah money. And if the Taliban government had brought back sunnah money, it would have rocked Pakistan. It would have made news in Pakistan. And Iran would not have been able to sleep. No. Iran would not have been able to digest the food if Afghanistan had brought back sunnah money. But the ambassador said to me, Maulana, our ulama in Afghanistan differ with you. They don't consider the paper money to be haram. September the 11th was on a Tuesday? September the 11th was on a Tuesday? 2 days before September 11th was a Sunday. The ambassador invited me for lunch. Afghan food. And the ambassador is smiling. He's so happy when he greeted me at his home. Sit down, Maulana. Have a meal. I have good news for you. What is it, Excellency? I have news for you from the government of Afghanistan that we've agreed now to talk to you about the restoration of Sunnah money. And the man smiling because he agreed with me. So we made an arrangement, this is 2 days before September 11th, that I would go to Lahore to attend a conference in Lahore in November. It's only 2 months away. And the government of Afghanistan would send their representatives to Lahore. And we'd sit in Lahore and discuss the modalities of bringing back Sunnah money. 2 days later, September 11th took place. And the ambassador had to leave the country. I don't know where he is now. That, I believe, was the last chance we had. And that chance is now gone. If we cannot bring back Sunnah money anymore at the macro level, I am of the opinion that it is still possible to bring back Sunnah money at the micro level. And this is why I admire so much the work being done by Murabitun, and in particular by my brother Omar Vadilio that I spoke about earlier. I hope I can invite him to come to Trinidad sometime. And when you hear him speaking, you'll hear an expert. I am not the expert. If we build our own Muslim village, and we have our own market in the village, there's nothing to prevent us, no law to prevent us from bringing back Sunnah money. No law to prevent us. At least no domestic law. All we'll have to deal with is the IMF. Huh? What did you say? The IMF? Dr. Muhammad Mahathir was fed up of Yankee financial imperialism. Muhammad Mahathir understood the system. Anwar Ibrahim did not. Anwar Ibrahim was the blue-eyed boy of the IMF. But Muhammad Mahathir understood the system. And he rebelled against the imperialism, the financial imperialism of the US dollar. And Dr. Muhammad Mahathir wanted to get away from the grip of the US dollar for international trade. So he says, we'll return to gold. And he started making bilateral agreements with a number of countries for trade between Malaysia and those countries to be based on gold rather than the US dollar. But from the time he brought back the gold for international trade, people began to ask, well, what about gold in the market here in Malaysia? Only then did the Prime Minister of Malaysia, only then did he get to know, he didn't know it before, that the IMF prevents you, it is illegal according to the IMF, to use gold as money. Yes. They put it there in their charter. And Dr. Mahathir had to confess his surprise that he didn't know this. So we'll have to defy the IMF, which means that we'll have to defy our own local government, which of course will act in accordance with the IMF, in using Sunnah money. So suppose they send the police for us.